welcome back, where today we're going to be talking a little bit late, it did come out 3 weeks ago, about Welcome to Heavenly Secret Base by Lonesome Blue. And this is a band who I really enjoyed when I heard them for the first time with the song Parallel World. I like the fact that they had that strong rock energy, and yet they also managed to bring a sort of a fun sense to it as well. The music sounded full but accessible. There was just so many things about it that were really cool. So I was really looking forward to hearing this song, and I did hear it when it premiered, and I really had 3 weeks to digest it, because the interesting thing is that I was really hyped up with this song. But then I also saw some comments from other people on the Discord who really know their musical stuff, and one in particular who said that in their opinion they thought that the song was a little bit overly simplistic and they didn't really get anything from it. My opinion is very different, but that's kind of something that I really wanted to address when talking about this song. Is I want to talk really about, is this genius or generic? Is it really, really fun, or is it just pop in the most boring sense? So let's get around to breaking this down. Let's break this down. Now, first of all, we have to look at the whole tone and basically what the sound this song is going for is. And I was really intrigued from the minute this started playing at that premiere. Basically, we're looking at something that has kind of like a disco-infused pop vibe. It is very much a pop song. That the disco bass sort of going through the octaves, boom, doo-da, boom, doo-da, boom, doo-da, is very, very funky. There's nothing, yes, hugely complicated about that. It is basically stripped down sort of song that's supposed to make you bob your head along and also get a nice melody that you can sing along to. It very much is a pop single in that sense. There was also some conversation of the fact that it had a bit of a Eurovision vibe. That I would definitely agree with, but I would be very cautious, because anyone who's heard those Eurovision songs, the general hallmark they have is they're catchy and anthemic, but also tend to be incredibly tacky. Now, I wouldn't say this song is going for a tacky vibe at all. Yes, it is trying to be a bit of a retro sounding song, and the sort of disco ball vibe we get from the music video clearly backs that up. But whether you count it as tacky, it very much depends on your own personal way of looking at it. For me, the fact that the song was so effective in that it does make you bob your head along, it does make you tap your foot, and it does have a chorus that makes you want to sing to it. It does keep you engaged throughout. These things all make me think that whatever you think of the sound, whatever you think of the style it's going for, it is effective. It works as maybe a homage, maybe a parody of that genre, but it does work. It was a song that I found myself able to bob my head along for the entire 5 minutes that it's playing. It isn't a short one, and it's not like it's barreling along like a punk song. It's pretty mid-tempo as well, but it keeps you engaged. So I would say stylistically, yes, you could say it's a bit of a tacky start, but it works. And a lot of the reason it works is because of the song structure. Now, when we get into the structure, we get into a slightly more subjective and interesting place, because when it comes to more complicated and complex songs that are doing really interesting, advanced things, you can very easily say, well, look, this song is great. Maybe it's a bit too complex for some listeners, maybe more casual listeners won't quite get it or get into it, but you can say, from an objective standpoint, from someone who really likes music, who's got like a developed palette, this is really good. Again, that's not always a universal, but basically that's something you can say with a lot of the more complicated Bohemian Rhapsodies of songs, I guess, for a nice, easy example. When it comes to these simpler songs, it can be very tricky to say something is objectively good. Now, this song is not doing anything that we haven't heard before. Structurally, we are talking verse, chorus, bridge, chorus. Basically, we are looking at a song that has a 4-chord repeated chorus, but let me give you an example, one that I have used before, but I'm going to use it again. When you look at simple songs, there are some that work. You could think of something like Smells Like Teen Spirit by Nirvana is one that I keep on coming back to, Song 2 by Blur. Then take some of maybe the really famous classic old 60s cheesy rock songs that get stuck in your head straight away. There are songs that just work in a very simple way, and the reasons they work can be down to just very tiny things about how the melody and the chords interact. It can be certain chord patterns that you hear in a million pop songs because they just kind of always work. It can be those kinds of things. And that's kind of, for me, where Welcome to Heavenly Secret Base, that's a title, where that song lies. Yeah, it just it is catchy enough. The melody is engaging enough that you want to sing along. The chord pattern, although we've heard that chord pattern in a billion songs, works very well here. And given that it's not just a strummy song, strum, 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 but it's instead a song which has got a little bit of a curious disco vibe to it as well, it gets to feel a bit fresh. It has a novelty in its retro sound that allows it to not just sound like another person strumming the same 4 chords. So yes, the simple techniques used here, the simple things that make it effective are rather derivative, but put together, all of the parts sound fresh. It all sounds a little bit different from any song that you can immediately reference. You can maybe say, oh, I've heard another song that has that disco bass line. Oh, I can name another 50 songs that have that chord pattern. Oh, I've got another song that has a similar vocal melody. But I don't know any songs that sound exactly like this, where all those things have been put together. And in a world where, let's face it, it's very hard to do anything, any scale in music, any melody, any chord pattern that no one's ever done before, that I think is fine, therefore. It sounds fresh in those terms. So, yeah, again, I think it comes back to that thing that I can fully accept anyone says that it's very simple, but it works. It doesn't sound like a rip-off of any particular song, even if it references various things, and therefore, song structure, I think it's absolutely fine. I do have a soft spot for the bridge in this song, and that's rather curious because the first time I heard it, again during the premiere, I was a little bit unsure about the bridge. It felt a little bit like it was just sort of padding time, but then on repeat listens, I've actually come to really love the bridge. Now, it works in 3 separate segments. We come out of the second chorus, of course, and then we go into a little bit of a guitar solo. The guitar solo is really cool, really got a little bit of energy. It doesn't go on too long because in this type of song that maybe wouldn't be particularly fitting, but I like the fact as well that it kind of had a bit of a disco sort of funk to it. It was played with a little bit of rhythm. And then everything moves up, and this is where we get a weird section where we get a key change upwards, how Eurovision, except it's in the bridge, not in the final chorus. And in that section, it just keeps on sort of going round and round and round with this almost Arabian style little riff happening, which is mostly on the keyboards. Now, it's not complicated, so da-da-da-na-na-na sort of thing, but it keeps going for a good, 4 slow repeats of the whole run. And therefore, we're spending quite a long time on this bit where we're being led by a keyboard when there's not actually a keyboardist in the group. Maybe one of the members plays, but you never see anything playing keyboard. And, this keeps on going round. And so it feels a little bit weird because at first you're like, well, this can't be like we can't be actually following the keyboard because none of them are keyboardists. So you feel a little bit like you're waiting for something. But once you get used to just ignoring that and just listening to it as a song, that's kind of a nice bit. It builds up a little bit of an atmosphere, actually. If you just listen to it as audio and just accept, well, look, there's a keyboard bit, a lengthy keyboard bit in this song, you kind of get moved into this very different place. I was thinking a lot of the bridge in, sorry if this is a bit obscure if you don't know this song, but the song Why by Bandmate, which I recently spoke about in another video. That song has a similar thing where in the bridge you get like a solo, but then it moves up a couple of notes and it stays there, just sort of doing a mid-tempo thing and builds you into this like nice little repeating section before throwing you back. And this song does exactly the same thing with equally effect. After that lengthy keyboard bit, we drop back down into a vocal bridge, which is nicely delivered and therefore gives you that last push of energy to launch you into the final chorus. So it is incredibly effective in a very weird way. It takes you kind of away and then back, which is, that's a great thing for a bridge to do. So it's strange. It's strange. It's not what you expect from a band like this, but then once you got used to it, it is a very effective bridge. Sound-wise, production, everything's basically fine. Mix is all good, clear, nice. But I do think, again, how I liked in Parallel World, how they had that violin, which just, it made a good song brilliant for me, the violinist. I was kind of curious to hear what they would sound like without the violinist, having been introduced to them through that context. And I am really glad to hear them playing with these keyboard sounds. I don't know if one of the members, like I say, backs up as a keyboard player, but I'm glad that they use it because those keyboard sounds, I keep on saying it so many times, but it's true. Keyboard is like one of the most important things you can have in a band, because a keyboard can be any instrument you want it to be. It can be as tacky and synthetic, or nowadays you can just use a sound font that literally plays the notes of a different recorded instrument for you. You can do anything with a keyboard and with an intelligent keyboard player or producer. So I'm glad to see them still using those other sounds. I still actually would really look forward to hearing one of their songs which is just them as a straight rock band. I think I saw one that maybe looks like it probably is that. Seemed to have a rather intense thumbnail. But yes, certainly hearing them with the keyboard sounds, I'm glad they used it. It did work really well here. Even if it was kind of strange to see a lengthy bridge bit where they're all just sort of like, all right, let the keyboard player who lives in the walls do this bit for us. Cool. Yeah, no, I thought that the whole sound of this, again, that goes back to what I was originally saying. They were going for a certain style that is not super modern, so I wasn't expecting anything cutting edge, but it was basically efficient. It was all worked. So in conclusion, I personally really like this song. Yeah, it's nothing to write home about. It's not going to change the world. It's not going to do anything hugely different. Yes, it is pretty simple in a lot of ways. Yes, it is deriving a lot of its ideas from other sources. Yeah, as a finished product, it feels like something that I would definitely turn to in a certain mood. If I just wanted something a little bit, I don't want to say cheesy, because that sounds almost like you're being kind of like talking down about it, but something that had a little bit of that, don't take it too serious, sort of fun, head-bopping feel. Yeah, this is good. It's feel good. It has a nice vibe to it, and I like it. I enjoy it in its simplicity. I know I keep on talking about bands like Cardiacs and saying songs like Tales of a Destinies by Babe Metal is one of my favourite, and I know that I have this thing about occasionally, because I like songwriting is my primary thing over musicianship. I tend to go for the overly technical songs and say, wow, that's amazing. But I really like a simple pop song as well, and in fact, I like it as much. It's a very different thing to achieve, and yet it can be just as effective in its own light. And for me, this really worked. I really enjoyed it. The name is, I wish the name was as catchy as the song, but it does kind of have a twee Japanese anime, all your base are belong to us kind of vibe about it, which I really enjoy. Yeah, it's just a song that I think works. So when we come to that whole idea of is it genius or generic, I'd say it's neither. It's not genius, it's just very effective. It's not generic, it's very effective. Yeah, I guess you could replace both words with that. It's effective, it works. They got a simple idea and they really made it stick. It passes by 5 minutes brilliantly. It does do one thing I hate. I hate when songs fade out. Come on, we got rid of that in the 60s for a reason, people. Well, we started getting rid of it after the late 60s. It was pretty much gone by the time we got to the 90s. Although now I'm starting to think of some songs there. Look, the point is that songs that fade out, don't do that. Don't do that. It's like, end your songs properly. It's confusing when they fade out. No one likes that. But still, great song. I really enjoyed this. And I am definitely looking forward to hearing more from Lonesome Blue. What an absolutely, just like a really fascinating artist to go from sort of fun melodic metal into disco pop in the space of one song. So anyway, those are my thoughts. Get in the comments, tell me what you think, and hopefully I'll see you very soon for the next one of these. But for now, ciao, ciao.